So today we're going to be talking about ball flight, specifically how you can hit it higher, lower, and then gain a mid trajectory on all shots. This is something that every golfer can do if they follow some simple templates, but it does take practice. And if you're somebody who's struggling with a high weak flight, or you're someone who hits the ball really low and needs a bit more launch, you can take the examples here and potentially apply them to your own game to alter your current shots. So for this first demonstration, I've got a 7-iron, but I will be using other clubs as well, just to explain some of the differences, because they can be small, but they can have a huge impact as far as where flight is going. Now, when we're talking about flight, when we're talking about how high and how low a shot will go, what we're really referring to is how much effective loft is being delivered at impact and what your angle of attack into the ball is. Now, simply put, if you get shaft lean, so your handle leaning ahead of the ball at impact, this is going to be reducing the overall amount of dynamic loft that you're hitting the ball with. Dynamic loft is the amount of delivered loft. So you have a static loft, which is what your clubs are normally set at if the shaft is straight up in a neutral position. And the more the handle leans forward, the less that loft is going to become. Second of all, if you hit down more on the ball, so this club is moving downwards in this direction, generally your delivered loft is going to be lower as well. So to hit my normal 7-iron shot, I'm going to start with the ball position in the middle of my stance. I'm going to take a little step with my left foot, a slightly bigger step with my right, and that puts my ball position just forward of center. As you can see, when I get set up, my chest is pretty much on top of the ball, slightly behind, and this type of setup with a decent swing is going to produce my standard 7-iron flight. So now let's say I want to try and hit the ball lower. What can I do? I want to reduce the amount of dynamic loft. I want my handle to be leaning slightly further ahead at impact. Now, there's a few things that I can do to make this more achievable. First of all, with my setup. So rather than taking a little step with my left and a bigger step with my right, I'm just going to reverse that. I'm going to take a bigger step with my left foot and a smaller step with my right. Now, as you can see, that puts the ball position slightly back of center. Now, if I changed absolutely nothing within my swing, what would happen here is the club would be on a steeper descending angle of attack. My swing center would bottom out after the ball a little bit more, and if I kept my hands slightly further ahead, my delivered loft would be less, and in these circumstances the ball would take off lower. Now, to increase the angle of attack a little bit more, to try and keep ahead of the ball as well with my hands, I'm actually going to place a little bit more weight on my lead side. So I'm going to put about 60% of weight on my left foot. I'm also going to draw that left foot back very slightly. As the ball position moves further back in the stance, path will generally move a little bit more from the inside. A little bit more technical. You have to have probably quite good control over your impact for this to make a difference, but if you do deliver the club consistently, it's well worth bearing in mind. So I've drawn the left foot back, I've positioned that weight a little bit more on that left side, and I'm just going to keep it there throughout the swing. That ball just takes off that little bit lower, drills through the air a touch more. One thing which will overall, and I know this for a certainty, improve your ball flight is if you hit that subscribe button and become a member of the Swing Quest community. We do regular videos to help you improve your game, and we're pushing towards that 100,000 follower mark here on YouTube. So it would be great to have you down. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now, to get the ball moving a little bit higher in the air, certainly with an iron, this is a little bit more difficult because your angle of attack will generally be a little bit more neutral and you're applying more loft at impact, certainly when compared to when the ball is back in the stance. So set up again, feet together. I'm gonna take a little step with my left foot and again a slightly bigger with my right. So now it is just slightly further forward in my stance than it otherwise would be. I also don't want to be driving those hands miles ahead, and I don't want the club path to be moving too far off to the left-hand side. The reason for this is if I keep the club a little bit more shallow through the point of impact, moving a little bit more from the inside, I can deliver a higher effective loft. I can hit up on this ball a little bit more. The dilemma with this, of course, is we're hitting an iron. And if you were to try and really just hit purely up on the ball, the chances of fatting it and thinning it are increased. So this does take that little bit more practice. So a little step, slightly bigger with the trail foot, with the right foot. I'm going to try and move a little bit more shallow. I'm just going to try and sweep that ball away a little bit more. And that is a huge difference there in the flight. So I'm going to go through these in order from low to high. Same target line and those adjustments. Feet together, big step, little step, weight push forward, that left foot, that lead foot pulled out a touch more. Keeping the weight forward, driving those hands ahead. Low, little punchy flight. Second up, little step, slightly bigger step, so the ball is just forward of center. For my standard setup, weight distribution is even. I'm just going to put my standard swing on this one. And finally, for that big old high loopy one, I'm just going to get that little step with the left, slightly bigger with the right. Just going to try and move more from the inside and have a more sweeping contact at the point of impact. Woo! That has actually gone to the outer troposphere. Now going straight onto a 7-iron, this can be a little bit imposing, especially if you're not used to trying to alter ball flight. So what I've got here is a 54 degree, and you can go through a very similar exercise. These ball positions, as far as going further forward and further back, this is a common factor through every single club. Obviously, if you're sticking a driver further back in your stance and trying to hit down on it, that's a little bit more difficult because the amount of loft that you're playing with is a lot more reduced and it can be a lot more difficult. But playing around with ball positions, playing around with weight distributions, this is how you can actually alter flight and get used to altering. So with my 54 degree, nice little exercise that you can do. If you, again, just start with your feet together and just have a little bit of a separation, just so your weight distribution is a bit more even. Because I'll place these balls here just so you can see, but I'm gonna go front, middle, back in the stance, okay? I'm not going to change anything around weight distribution. With these short shots, I'm always going to keep a little bit on the left side. I'm going to do this first one just off the front foot, hands level with that lead leg, swing back and through. See how it kind of pops up there? I'm going to pull that second ball across into the middle of the stance, keep those hands opposite the left thigh, still that weight slightly forward. Nice strike, actually released it a little bit, but it popped. And then off the back foot. Again, you can see how those angles of attack and those ball flights change. The second one didn't quite, I got a bit flippy on it, but it's a really good little drill that you can use just to kind of elucidate the point of how you can alter ball flight very, very quickly. Can also arm you with some nice little short game shots as well. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you want to continue your swing quest and hopefully improving at golf, check out these videos here.